You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast, and this is show number 321 for Sunday the 28th of June 2020, and is brought to you by our wonderful folks who sponsor us via Patreon. To find out more, visit patreon.com/Disney Dream Girls.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jayne Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello, Jayne.
Hello there, Michelle. Are we a little bit warm today?
As of recording, the temperature is pushing 90 degrees, and the room I'm recording in is more akin to a sauna than a recording studio cum office. So, yeah, you can probably hear the chink chink of my elderflower pressy in my Disney glass that the wonderful Angie Mills made me, because oh my word, whew, it's needed. How are you, lovely?
Well, I'm probably not quite as hot and sweaty as you. I'm very busy with work, and I have a nice little cool room that I've managed to find my way into to record this today. So I am enjoying the weather, but it is a little bit on the warm side. But we're not moaning because we don't get very many warm days like this, do we, in the UK? So I'm not moaning.
Not as hot as this.
No.
Well, lovely, we are here together to chat some Disney today, and it seems to me the minute that we press stop on the recording button, Disney decide to sneak out some news, and let's go through some of that anyway over the course of the next half an hour or so on this show, because we're sort of getting to the point now that we've got information about parks and they're all very, very different, aren't they?
It is. It's a little, I wouldn't say it's a minefield, but I think depending on which park you're interested in and when you think you might be going and what the experiences are going to be like and are they even going to be open is very different depending on what area you're looking at.
Well, let's start closest to home with Disneyland Paris.
Right, okay.
And I must admit, out of the three parks, that's the one I think the both of us are more likely to be able to get to.
Yes.
Whether we do or don't is a different matter, but it's probably the most likely bit of Disney that we're going to be able to get our little sticky mitts on.
I would agree. I think it's the one that stands the chance of surviving through this opening, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, what they're saying is they are going to be opening the parks with a very limited capacity. And the good thing is, if you book a Disney package, which is hotel and tickets, you are guaranteed to get into the park.
Which is fair enough.
Which, in my mind, is how it should be. If you're buying a Disney hotel price and you've bought your tickets as part of that package, you shouldn't have to go online.
No.
170 billion days before and try and sweat it out with everybody else to get a theme park reservation.
Yeah, if you're staying in one of their hotels, that should be a given that you get into the parks. And if that means they have to curtail the hotel reservations, then so be it.
Well, it looks like that's what they're doing. They've not opened all the hotels straight away. From what I can gather is if you have separate tickets or an annual pass, you will be looking at visiting the DLP reservation website, which goes live any day soon.
Right.
So I think with what Paris has got to offer, it is something that I would possibly think about when we're able to go and come back without this quarantine kerfuffle going on. You know, at the moment they're saying we can travel in certain places in Europe, and Eurostar have said today you've got to wear a mask while you're on the train.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, in really hot conditions, that's something I wouldn't want to do, so I'll wait. And if it's right for me to travel in October, I think I will.
Yeah, I must admit, I did read through what the plans were for Disneyland Paris, and it did read to me very methodical, very common sense, sort of laid out. Yeah, it's not going to be the same experience as no theme park is going to be. But I agree. I think it's the more attainable. Should you be this side of the Atlantic and wanting a bit of a Disney fix, Disneyland Paris is going to be the more attainable one to get to, I think.
And I would travel in my car, so I don't have that mingling with other people travelling
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. And I think the further on we go, and providing the likes of ourselves in the UK and the other European countries have got a handle on this pandemic and are managing it correctly and are prepared to put lockdowns in place if they need to, whether they be local or national or whatever, then I think it becomes a greater possibility. I think this is where we get into the problem with the US.
Well, time will tell, my lovely. Let's have a look at what happened later on in the week with regards to Disneyland Resort, because it was all set, it was all opening up.
Yeah.
And then this hit. We previously announced a proposed phased reopening of our theme parks for July 17th, pending government approvals. We developed enhanced health and safety protocols for both cast and guests at Shanghai Disney Resort, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World that have been approved, allowing us to reopen at a responsible manner and bring our cast members back to work. The state of California has now indicated that it will not issue theme park reopening guidelines until sometime after the 4th of July. Given the time required for us to bring thousands of cast members back to work and restart our business, we have no choice but to delay the reopening of our theme parks and resort hotels until we receive approval from the government officials. Once we have a clearer understanding of when guidelines will be released, we expect to be able to communicate a reopening date. Our Downtown Disney District will reopen on the 9th of July as previously announced. And then it goes on, and I'm sure people have read the rest of the document. So we can go to Downtown Disney, we just can't get into the theme parks as yet, and there isn't a date as yet until that government approval has rubber stamped. And we knew that from before because it was subject to that approval.
Yeah, and I think in light of the fact that the information that I'm hearing via the intertubes is that California unfortunately has had a rise in cases. It's kind of inevitable that there's going to be delays to these things reopening, and I think it's sad, but we have the cast members' health and safety to think about, as well as our own health and safety to think about. And mingling in a theme park, sharing tables and chairs and goodness knows what else, there is going to be a risk involved in that, and that's the sort of risk that everybody's going to have to think about what they're prepared to take, isn't it? And if people in charge say no, the time's not right, then we need to listen to them and just hold our horses and wait until we can get out there again.
No, completely agree with you there, Jane. With regards to my situation, being an annual pass holder,
of course,
this is going to sound really, really, greedy of me in some respects, but if the park's going to be closed, it means I'm going to get more of a refund, because I bought my annual pass to visit in December and then August and October. I can't go in August and October anymore, so really that annual pass I bought over Christmas, I possibly would have only bought tickets, so it's cost me a lot of money. So I'm kind of thinking, well, if it's closed for another month, I might get a little bit more back, because I'm not going to be able to get over and use it.
No, absolutely. And they've got it under that system, haven't they, that whilst ever they're closed and there's no physical way for you to use your pass, it's either refund or tagged on to the end, so that it lasts longer. But if it's beyond your control, then there should be a recompense for that.
No, totally agree. So moving now to Walt Disney World, and I've been getting quite a long series of emails from Disney updating me on the options offered to me with regards to my December holiday.
Yes.
And I gather this is a very different case to many other people, because I've been offered basically 4 options. I cancel now and I get a refund. I modify my dates, but those dates are only available to be modified up to September 2021. I travel in December.
Okay.
Or if I decide after June 27th, which is the deadline Disney have given, I forfeit my deposit completely.
Right, so that's kind of forcing you to make a decision before then, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Now, I do gather that on WDW News today, they're saying that this cancellation option is available all the way through park closures up until Walt Disney World reopening again. That's not the experience I've had. And I've had 2 very long calls. The first one I was on hold for about 3.5 hours till I got through to somebody. And the second one I had to ring back again because I made some options online. So he then said, you can go back to that and change your opinion. I tried, I couldn't, so I had to ring again. Luckily, when I rang again, it was only about 1 hour and 20. So what I do suggest to people is try to avoid ringing in the morning as they open, because that's going to be their busiest. Perhaps try later on in the day, because I did find it a lot quieter then. But there's been a lot more information being forthcoming as well about what's going to be happening in the parks, what you're going to be able to do with regards to those offerings.
Right.
So, Jayne, what's happening with tours?
Not a lot. By the sounds of it, they're not happening. So you got everything from behind the scenes to the private VIP ones. Many of the dining events have been hit. So, like firework parties, that type of thing. Yeah, and makeovers aren't happening. So those key type of events that you might want to pay out for, or the little bit of the icing on the cake to your trip, you ain't going to be able to partake in.
I'm quite surprised with the VIP ones as well, because that's a lot of money for Disney to kiss goodbye to.
Yeah, but I suppose it's the numbers in confined spaces type of up close and personal. You're not socially distancing.
But normally it's your own group, because you pay $400-500 an hour for your party to go with a cast member.
Perhaps it's more to do with the availability of staff then. Perhaps it's a case of not wanting to employ more staff than they need to, because that would be a costly exercise that they're not going to reap the money back for. So maybe it's that thing of not being able to afford to do the bells and bows sort of things from that point of view. I don't know.
I think it's possibly down the route of cast member liability, because thinking of going on a, say, behind the scenes tour, you're paying $18, there's one cast member, there could be a group of 15. It's got to be financially viable for a start for them to do it. So if you do it with a small group, it's not financially viable. No. The bigger the group, the bigger the risk. And if somebody in that group infects the cast member, it's, so that's possibly it. So all the tours are off. Firework parties, obviously there's no fireworks, so that's all off. All your things like your boat things, going out, watching fireworks, all gone.
Yeah.
There's no other things though as well. Looking at the park list, you've got nothing that involves being in a space where you're mixing with other people or touching things that get touched a lot of. So for example, Main Street vehicles, gone. The barber's shop, gone. Turtle Talk with Crush, gone.
Yeah, it's taking some of the magic away, isn't it?
It is. It's just stripping it back to the basic experience. And for some people, that would be enough, just to be in their happy place, their happy bubble, to look at the castle, maybe get a couple of attractions in, get a Dole Whip. To some people, that would be a brilliant opportunity. And I suppose if I wasn't going to have to pay out several £1,000s worth to do that, I probably would if I was local.
Yeah, I agree, Michelle. I think if you're local, you've got an annual pass, and it's something that you're used to being able to just nip into the parks whenever you want, for want of a better phrase, and experience Disney without having to be booking reservations for restaurants, or without wanting to experience a certain thing or go on a certain ride. then yeah, it's a great experience for you. You can get your little bit of a fix and you're all done and dusted. But for anybody else that has to physically travel to this destination, you've got to put a big question mark over it. Sorry, Disney.
Well, let's have a little look a little bit further in detail about the offerings that are going to be available in Walt Disney World. And the reason I'm not focusing on Disneyland, because we don't have a date and we don't
No.
have the information, but we
Yeah.
have got some of this for Walt Disney World. And I'm going to start at the Magic Kingdom, Jane, because straight away one of the hard to get ADRs is for Be Our Guest. Well, they've totally removed breakfast.
Right. Okay.
And lunch now is no longer going to be that quick service option. For lunch and dinner, you have got to have a fixed price menu.
Right. Okay.
With a reservation, $62 for adults, $37 for children. Then you've got all your usual additional costs on top of that for your tax and tip and whatever. Would you seriously be paying that out?
No.
I'm struggling. I know I've done it once and it was a lovely experience. The people I was with, I had a lovely meal with Kat, Lewis and Stephen. The cast were amazing. The scenery, we were in the big ballroom. The food was okay. I tried a snail and I didn't spit it out.
I remember that. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Stephen couldn't decide between the two soups, so the cast member brought him both. So, you know, it is a really nice, memorable experience. But for me, I was one and done. I think for some people who might want to have a magical experience in the park when there isn't much else being offered, this is something that they may consider. So let's have a little look at what the offerings are, because I've noticed from the menus I've been pouring through that the options have been really skimmed back. So you've got a choice of starters, couple of soups, a meat and cheese platter, then you've got your plant option. So if you're a vegan, there's something there for you. If you don't eat meat, so they have a hazelnut brittle seasonal fruit with a stone fruit vinaigrette. That to me doesn't sound overtly exciting, but saying that, I'm not a vegan.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. Yeah.
You have some really nice, good quality options on your main. You've got pork tenderloin. You have got a roasted corn and spinach tortellini, which is the plant-based offering. You have got a centre-cut filet mignon, pan-seared scallops, a poulet rouge chicken. So again, you've got one from each sort of category of options. I don't think there's a fish though, apart from the sea scallops. And I think sea scallops are a tricky one because how the kitchen is set up in Be Our Guest, it's quite a distance away, and I've had before problems with food temperature being a bit cold, and scallops, I prefer to eat them when they're really sizzly hot.
Yeah, and they've just been done sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, as you say, they've kind of ticked the box from each category, haven't they? And that's it. So if it will be that thing of like if you're a meat person, but you don't like pork, you've got your steak to choose from, and that's it, isn't it? And it's, I understand why they're doing it, but you are going to be a little bit limited.
Yeah. Your dessert basically has stayed the same with the little cute white chocolate chip cup with the grey stuff, your truffle, and then your lemon and jam macaron. But they have actually put on a different option if you wanted a plant-based dessert as well.
Okay.
Which is fresh berries and strawberry meringue, which isn't as exciting.
No, and I suppose the plus with desserts is because they're all cold desserts. These are stuff that I would imagine can be made and stored, and they're not having to be done there and then, are they?
Yeah. So if you are thinking of having something magical, it is a magical experience. It is a beautiful environment, but bear in mind it is not cheap, especially if you're with quite a few people.
Yeah, and I say it's going to be interesting because obviously the clientele of the park is going to be different to normal, and are those people that are just literally wanting to get that taste of Disney magic because they're lucky enough to live nearby and have an AP, are they going to want to be doing these sorts of things? Can they afford to do these sorts of things at the moment when incomes are restricted? Don't know.
Right, so let's just think about the rest of the Magic Kingdom, Jane. There are quite a few options available there for people. if you were wandering around the Magic Kingdom, bear in mind you're not going to be allowed to hop. So that is your one part, because normally for me, I don't normally eat in the Magic Kingdom a meal. I like to get on the monorail and pop on over to the Grand Floridian and go to the eateries over there, or maybe to the Polynesian. So if you're confined, what would you be looking at?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? And I'm going to say, I'm a bit like you, Michelle. It's that element of the whole being able to hop in and out of parks and across parks is kind of one of the nice things to do, so that you can have, different experiences across a day, whether that be food experiences or whether it be, the attractions and what's on offer. But yeah, if you're having to stick inside the one place, I mean, Sleepy Hollow is always a nice little lunchtime treat. Their waffles are going to be nice, whether you want to go savoury, whether you want to go sweet. Liberty Tree, you might get a nice hearty meal over there for you.
Ooh, let's just stop at Liberty Tree for a moment. Basically because you go to the theme park and you've got a choice of paying, what, $18 for burger and fries. Yeah. And then a little bit on top for a soda. So you're looking at $20 for basically something that'll fill most people for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you go somewhere like Liberty Tree Tavern for your dinner and you get a salad. You get a Patriots platter with the meats, the vegetables, the stuffy, the mac and cheese, the veggies, and then a dessert of ooey gooey toffee cake with ice cream. I'm sorry, I'd be eating at Liberty Tree every single time if I'm stuck to stay in the Magic Kingdom, because you can't go wrong with that kind of fare.
No, hearty fare, I think is a phrase, is it not?
Well, it basically is going to be food there that everybody will eat.
Yeah, it appeals to most, and the value is there.
Anywhere else you would consider?
Well, I suppose if you wanted to be a little bit more, adventurous in your dining options, you could nip over to Skipper Canteen. There's a few bits over there. Again, you're talking your 20 to 36-ish sort of dollar mark. And again, I suppose you a bit like I guess you've got the bit of a different atmosphere going on over there. So if you were looking for something a bit different, again, it comes down to what you're doing in the park, isn't it? Are you just nipping in and out, or are you making a full-blown song and dance of it?
And for me, the best thing completely about going to Skipper Canteen or one of the sort of fixed table service places, you don't have to have a 3-course meal. If you just want to get 2-3 different appetizers for the table and a dessert to share, you can do that. It doesn't have to be a $60 meal. No,
but then you've also got the choice. If you want it to be that, then you can be, can't it?
Okay, I think we'll look at this in a little bit more detail in the other parks over on our Patreon show and talk about that in a little bit more detail. But I think, that it's just a matter of knowing what's going to be available and having a look at those places and having a plan. I don't think you're going to be able to just turn up because you might not be able to get somewhere to eat at the place you want to eat. And I think it's going to be down to everyone in that theme park is a captive audience, so book that reservation.
Yeah, I think those of us that like to plan, this is kind of planning overload, isn't it, really? Because, as you say, there's going to be restrictions on what you can and can't do. There's going to be restrictions on where you can and can't eat. I know that Disneyland Paris have said that a lot of their restaurants is going to be takeout effectively and more places to eat out and about in the park. And there's those sorts of elements to think about, isn't it? And how many people they can fit in a restaurant, all those sort of knock-on effects. And it's that combination of, can you get into where you want to be or where you'd prefer to be? And then the other question is that how you want your Disney experience to actually be?
Yeah. So, Jane, Lego.
Yes, you like Lego, Michelle, don't you?
I've suddenly developed a bit of a thing with Lego because last week I eventually managed to track down a set, unopened, brand new, of the Disney World castle.
Have you started it yet?
No, not as yet. Basically, because of it, I got it on Monday. Yeah. And it's just been so warm on an evening. We've just been sat outside with a cool drink. So, not as yet. But there's news about a very exciting concept that's been pitched to Lego. And I know this concept has been pitched to them before. But I've never seen one as good as this. It's
Ooh.
absolutely fab.
Tell us more.
Hollywood Tower of Terror Hotel.
Ooh, okay.
It is absolutely fantastic because the previous sets was just literally the hotel part.
Right,
Well,
yeah,
this
yeah,
has
yeah.
got all the grounds in it. There's like a little seating area and there's lots of trees and greenery around it.
Okay.
It looks amazing. I really hope this get built.
I wonder if they could do it so that, I'm thinking back to, and I probably have the shakes now thinking back to this. We had the Harry Potter castle and we had lots. And when I say lots, we had lots of the sets of Harry Potter Lego, and we had to remake it all when we came to sell it on. So yes, I could have horrible nightmares about that again. But they would do bits where you could see into the building, and so they'd got certain rooms that were done in Lego as well. So it wasn't just building the structure of said building, it was building the interior rooms as well. So I'm just thinking whether or not, you know me, I know very little about the Tower of Terror and how amazing it is. But from what you've told me over the years, and drummed into me, the whole queue area or the lift area or whatever, that they, if it was like partly open so you could see in and you could be responsible for making the insides and things like that, that would be quite cool.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. So I posed that question on our Dream Girl Family podcast page to see,
Okay.
where would you choose to have a Lego model of? And the most popular one was the Haunted Mansion.
Oh yeah, again, it's a good architectural piece of building, isn't it? There's lots of, twiddly bits and things like that that could be recreated. So I can understand actually why that would work. Because I suppose your mountains, they're a bit like samey sort of thing. There's nothing, whereas something like your Haunted Mansion, there's a bit more about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Spaceship Earth would be a good one.
That was another popular one as well.
That kind of feels to me a bit like doing those, those jigsaws where you've got like 101 Dalmatians and you can't see where you're going. I saw a great one of Olaf. And it was just Olafs after Olafs after Olafs. I wonder if Spaceship Earth, with it being just all white blocks, making that in Lego could be a bit like doing those sorts of jigsaws. Do you know what I mean?
We had some other suggestions of the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Okay.
And mine, I put this one up. I just think this is amazing. I want the whole of Main Street and the Main Street vehicles that can go up around the hub and down, because I'll have the castle.
Yeah.
So basically I can have the whole Main Street, the castle at the end. The Main Street vehicles can go up in a loop round the hub and back down again, down to Town Square, turn around and go back up again.
You know what? As you're saying this, Michelle, this is an opportunity that Disney and Lego have missed, because like I say, having had the experience of the Harry Potter, and they did different castles depending on what movie or what book you were looking at, and they always did these like particular scenes from the movies. Or you think of the number of Lego sets they could have, because you could have a Lego set for each and every individual vehicles for Main Street. You could have Lego sets for each of the individual stores. They could make a killing, couldn't they? You'd have to have your Disneyland set. You'd have to have your Walt Disney World set. You'd have to have your DLP. They're missing out big time.
Absolutely. I just think it's a really good idea, and I know how ace my little train set looks on the coffee table, and every now and again it's really fun just to flick the app on and have it just set up and confuse the cats, because they put all the perspective off, because they just jump and sit on the coffee table and watch it go round.
Oh,
bless. Well, to end the show, we're going to scooch back from a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Splash Mountain.
all right, okay.
The LA Times, literally as recording, has released an article.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know this. Carry on.
Walt Disney Imagineering unveiled plans on Thursday to retheme the ride to its 2009 animated work, Princess and the Frog, a fairy tale that stars the company's first black princess.
Ooh.
Disney says it has long discussed a Splash Mountain reimagineering and cited the need for the ride to embrace a fresh, inclusive concept. The Princess and the Frog was chosen for the new theme sometime last year. The as yet unnamed refresh will be coming to Anaheim's Disneyland Park, where it will be more closely tied into the nearby New Orleans Square. The change will also take place in the Magic Kingdom at Florida's Walt Disney World. The timeline is dependent largely on how quickly or slowly society can resume a sense of normalcy as the nation wrestles with the current COVID-19 pandemic. The Princess and the Frog project is largely being overseen by Carmen Smith, Imagineering's VP of Creative Development and Inclusive Strategies, and Charita Carter, who was instrumental in the development of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which opened at Hollywood Studios. Little quote from that gentleman here saying, "We continually evaluate opportunities to enhance and elevate experiences for all our guests. It's important that our guests be able to see themselves in the experiences we create because we consider ourselves constant learners. We go to great lengths and research to engage with our cultural advisors and other experts to help us along the way." And as Len Tester said on that previous show, the gate was opened with Pirates of the Caribbean. They rethemed an element of that attraction.
Yes. So they've got a track record of doing this, and let's hope that it doesn't spoil the actual physicality of the ride, the thrill aspect of the ride, as long as they can keep that and incorporate that into the Princess and the Frog story somehow or other, which will be the interesting thing to see how they marry that story into the physicality of the ride as it exists at the moment.
Do you know, though, Jane, one thing that really, really strikes me about the Splash Mountain experience, I don't think a great deal will actually be changed in it, because what is the interior, the rockwork made of? Concrete. So unless they blow the darn Chickapin Hill up, they ain't getting rid of that concrete.
No, it is going to be a redressing, isn't it, internally?
Yeah. That's just come out, so obviously by the time you're hearing this on the podcast, you will be all aware of it. But just thought I would share that right now before we end the show, because we did say it was coming and people wouldn't have it.
Yeah, and I say there's lots of things happening at the moment, and obviously they're citing that this was planned, prior to things that have happened this year. So maybe it was always going to happen. Maybe the current climate has just forced them to think, actually, let's do it sooner rather than later. And I think because of what's been happening these last few weeks particularly, it is causing lots of different media to rethink and look at and go, okay, then we've learned, let's move on and do. So it's got to be a good thing moving forward, hasn't it?
Well, it is what it is, my lovely. So anyway, we're going to wrap this conversation up here and now. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Don't forget to pop on over to our Disney Dream Girls blog, disneydreamgirls.com, and have a little read through our show notes, where we will have put together some pictures and all sorts of things for you. You can also email us, info@disneydreamgirls.com. Don't forget, we do our Sunday quiz at 6 p.m. in the good old UK time, 1 o'clock if you're on the east coast of the USA, and 10 a.m. if you're on the west. You have to be a member of the Disney Dream Girls podcast family to get the link, and that is very easy to do. You just need to answer a few questions and be willing to share your Disney-driven life with the other members. Anyway, Jane, until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.